did it. I hit the record.
We're doing it.
We're doing it live right now. Hi, Joel.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Trying to Be Better podcast with Joel and Steve. I'm Joel, and that's Steve.
I'm Steve. I am today.
Yeah, today he's Steve. Yeah, we're here. We've got a really special guest tonight. We're really excited to talk to Charlie Shonka, and we'll introduce him in a minute.
Yeah.
But how are you, buddy? How are you, Steve?
I'm fundamentally okay. I'm honestly just a little bit tired tonight. I'm a little tired. I was gonna drink some coffee and then I didn't. So So you get what you get, fuckers.
Yeah, I was gonna do the same thing. I had to interview 3 people and then had another hour-long Zoom. I've been on Zoom.
A lot of Zoom today.
A lot of Zoom today. But this is different.
Yeah, this is for fun and for free. Except for we do, if there's anybody out there that really likes the Beyond Burger like we do,
yeah,
just help us reach out to them, because
we're trying to be better Beyond Burgers with
Beyond
our
Burgers,
faces on them. That'd be amazing.
Oh, that would be amazing. The Joel and Steve special edition
with vegan cheese pockets inside.
Sure, let's go with that.
And jalapenos.
Definitely, yeah.
2 large iced teas.
2 large. Probably get some guacamole with that.
Email the show at ttbb
podcast
at gmail.com. Find us at Trying to Be Better Podcast on the Instagrams.
Yep. I think Charlie's texting somebody.
Yeah,
I'm just looking down.
He's just looking down.
Yeah, he's looking down.
He's waiting patiently.
So I've been Charlie, say hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Nice to see you, man.
How are you too?
This is so here's the deal for those of you that don't know Charlie, is that I used to go to school with Charlie. We were both pursuing higher education at Lincoln School of Commerce, which is now defunct, if that tells you anything.
Oh, come on. It's Purdue University Online now. We actually moved up the letter.
Whatever,
change.
Man.
I forgot about Lincoln School of Commerce.
Yeah, well,
that was even a thing.
It served, I think it served, and I know it served Charlie well.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, right. So anyway, and so my deal is was that 1999 probably? Turn of the century. It was the turn of the century.
Yeah, we started there right in 98, 99.
Yep.
Because it was after Connor was born.
I hadn't started working at ITI yet, which was pre Y2K. So, but so anyway, I was newly sober the first time, trying to get my life together, working full time and going to school at night full time mostly. And I just remember somewhere in that, because I was not okay, right? I was receiving all of the benefits of working step none, and going to tons of meetings. And then that changed because I was going to school instead of going to meetings, right? And so there's this guy, I hear this voice somewhere in my class, and I'm like, oh man, not the loud guy, not the loud. Oh, I got with this guy.
Charlie was the guy that.
Charlie was the guy, yeah.
Charlie was the guy that was engaged in class and.
Well, no. Charlie was
bothered
obnoxious.
You, Steve.
Charlie was obnoxious.
Okay. All right.
I've never ever in my life been told that I'm loud or a class distraction.
I'm sure probably never. Right. I know you were completely in your element, and I think that's what bothered me, is because you just seemed so okay with yourself.
Oh. There it is. That's what bothered you, dude.
It was 100%. How dare he be so outgoing?
How dare you be so okay?
Right.
That's crazy, because at that time I thought I was the most inward shy person. I just couldn't. We can talk about it later, but I never thought that about myself. I think
that's why I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
Just because perception is weird and it's not always reality,
Right.
But we discovered that we had some common interests, mostly around music, and you and your, Dirks and some other folks, right? You guys were just cool guys. And the thing that really, I know what gelled us was that you wished you had seen the Grateful Dead. I had seen the Grateful Dead, and you were into String Cheese Incident and Newgrass and really cool music that was, kind of happening in the fallout of Garcia's passing and all that, and CD burning.
Ah, right.
That's you and I had probably a couple of the first non-commercial CD burners in Lincoln.
Oh, absolutely. I had a 2X external Hewlett Packard that I had to plug in. peripheral port type stuff. And it's just like, okay, and had to just do all kinds of crazy registry hacks to get it to work or anything. But you'd burn a disk. It would take you 30 minutes and you would feel so proud of yourself.
But I remember like we traded a ton of discs. As I had a little collection and you had a little collection, and then we started doing blanks and postage trades.
Oh
and
yeah.
So we just spent hours hanging out burning discs at the speed of 2x.
Exactly.
And bullshitting and really having a good time. And so here's the thing, like I remember you you and Nikki, you had Connor, he was a baby, and you guys were young, like you got pregnant young.
Yeah, we were 21 when we had him, 22 when we had him, almost 22.
And so like you were both working and going to school full time, right?
Right.
And had a baby at home.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And I just remember thinking like I could barely feed myself. You know what I'm saying? And you guys were like, I knew that you guys were both working really hard to make this work, and it was working. And that always just impressed the shit out of me. Like I've always had just a ton of respect for you guys because, you kind of got thrust into this situation and you just went, okay, and made it work.
Thanks, man. I agree with you though. I mean, it was crazy back then. I mean, we just, having a baby at 21, 22, you just don't know what's going on. I had just, been out of what I can consider my parents, thumb, or out from under their thumb or whatever for maybe 6 months, 9 months. And then Nikki's pregnant and we're like, holy shite, man, what are we going to do here? Because I loved her. So that wasn't the problem, but I was, freaking out about, my parents are going to, blackball me or blah, 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 or people are going to talk shit that we failed. So. They didn't really like go off. They kind of like tried to set me down and say, oh, whatever you're doing in life you're kind of being a fuck up. You need to stop smoking and stop going to concerts, and you need to go get a job at Kawasaki because you don't have a degree and just work there full time and support your wife. And I'm like, that is such a 50s mentality. That's not what we're doing. I mean, we're fine. We're just going to both finish school, and then as soon as we're done, we're moving to Colorado. And they're like, why would you ever do that? And I'm like, don't get me started. But like, there's reasons, honestly, it's been a childhood goal. It's kind of funny. When I barely started dating Nikki, I was like, hey, we're starting to like each other a lot. But the minute I graduate, I'm moving to Colorado. And not, I'm going to Denver the minute I graduate if we can, and if that's something that you would never do, then maybe, we shouldn't get super serious because I'm not willing to give that up, and she's like, I'm down with Colorado. Let's go. And I'm like, perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect.
You guys totally did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
She graduated with her nursing degree and then you moved.
She graduated with her nursing degree and then I finished at Lincoln School of Commerce and got mine. And then we just moved to Colorado. Yeah, I was actually at the same job working with you at STI when I landed my first interview in Denver.
I think that I had gotten fired from STI by the time that happened. I think I was gone because I wasn't around for that.
Okay, so you were gone by the summer of 2002 then.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got unceremoniously fired from that job.
I do remember that. I guess so. Yeah, I guess you were gone before I was.
Yeah. Well, that job. I couldn't do it. I literally was not together enough as a person to be able to handle being yelled at for 9 hours a day on the telephone.
I still remember the day in class. I don't know. Let's say Windows NT. This is how old we are. We're in Windows NT 4.0 class, and Steve's. I'm like, hey, I got a new job, man. I'm at this software company. It's gonna be awesome. They pay pretty well for the time. Blah blah blah. You should. They're hiring. You should go over there and we can talk Grateful Dead while we work. And you said, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, you're taking support calls, from different IT aspects of accounting software for lawyers. And then you're like, well, that's not going to work for me because I don't like talking on the phone and I hate people. And I was like,
that sounds like Steve.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm much better now.
He's doing much better now.
Well,
he still hates people. He has to talk on the phone. Yeah,
but
right.
At the time, I was working third shift at information technology. It was like straight out of Office Space or something. Like I had to put on.
Next.
What's that?
You went to ITI after STI then?
No. I was working at ITI when I interviewed for STI.
Oh, okay.
Because I was making like almost nothing. I had to wear a suit in the middle of the night for no reason.
Right.
And working graveyard shift was horrible.
Oh,
I bet you were a real peach at about 3:30, 4 in the morning.
Well, it didn't matter because I was by myself.
Oh,
that was the joy of that job, is that I was
okay.
literally by myself. I was working Y2K. Like I was literally working, waiting for the world to end.
In a suit by yourself.
By myself.
In a bunker.
Literally, exactly. Actually. Yeah, my job was to change the vacuum tapes, the 12-inch tapes.
Oh man, nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was what I did. I was a computer operator.
So now you have all that. You have more storage than that in your phone right now than you used to have on those tapes.
Yeah. On his watch.
On my watch, for real. But so go ahead, Joel.
Well, I was just curious, like, are you from Lincoln, Charlie? Did you grow up here?
Well, so I did ish. I mean, yes. I mean, I was born in Oklahoma, and then had an abusive father that kind of took it out on the rest of us. And my mom and him got divorced, and then we moved to Nebraska when I was probably, let's say, 4 or 5.
Okay.
And then she remarried, and Jim adopted us. And so then I was basically, you're a Shonka now, you're in Nebraska now. And it's kind of like, you're 4 or 5 years old, and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm no longer this guy. I'm this guy now. Because, I mean, it's really, literally a judge sit there and looked at me and said, are you cool with having your last name changed from Morris to Shonka? And I'm just like, I guess. I'm 4. I don't have any clue. I don't know. Yeah,
does it mean for toys?
Yeah. And that was it. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm Michael Charles Shonka now, as opposed to Michael Charles Morris.
Okay, I was just curious, like, because but the dream was always Denver and the mountains and living.
Yeah, pretty much. I went down on vacation when I was like 8 from Nebraska with my grandparents out here, and I was just like, Colorado is just where it's at. And then as I grew older, I was always a Broncos fan, and then they got the hockey team, and then I saw the music scene out here, and I'm like, I'm vacationing in Colorado every minute I can, so there's, let's go. There's just larger things there to do, Nikki was at a hospital and then in Lincoln, Nebraska, and then she jumped right to probably the 2nd or 3rd largest children's hospital in the country, and she's been there since. She's at Denver Children's Hospital, or Children's Hospital Denver.
She's been there the whole time?
Yeah, she has. I mean, she's done different jobs there and keeps, going up the chain from floor nurse to charge nurse to director to this to that. Now she's across the street in the admin and teaching role and
that's
professional service, professional outreach, where they're like some small hospital in Wyoming will be like, we kind of want to be a children's light. How can we do that? And so Nikki will fly out there and meet with their, board of directors and say, here's what you need to do to be in partnership with Children's Hospital. And she will teach them how to do that, with all their nurses and write out a curriculum program.
That's wild. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the reasons I want to talk to you, kind of like, I didn't know that about your, like the Oklahoma situation. Right. But here's, so like, I mean, we go way back. We haven't been super, or like we see each other at concerts in Colorado.
Right.
And flip each other shit over text messages periodically.
Yeah. Husker football game every once in a while.
Yeah. But I mean, I always look forward to seeing you. And we do, like you know me probably better than anybody from a very specific time in my life.
Right.
So that's kind of important. You know what I'm saying? Like Charlie, you had a front row seat for the Steve Erbauer show at the turn of the century, which frankly was like the writing wasn't great,
See, I always thought that differently, and maybe right after I moved, things changed for you. But right around that period, I always thought that you had your shit together for someone who had been like a 5-year dedicated deadhead. And I was like, see, that's what I wish I could have done and had some freedom, and been like, I want to do whatever I was able to do like Steve did, and then decide, I want to go to college now and have a job and do this, and I'm like, I kind of felt like I was like, screwed out of that a little bit. Now, it was not my own fault or anything, just the timing dictated. I didn't really have like a go party and find yourself 20s.
Right.
I had like a year. And then all of a sudden I'm like, grow up or get your ass kicked by life and your kid's going to despise you, and I'm like, let's grow up, let's do this.
But that, like what you just described was what I wanted too. But what I had was just crushing self-loathing and drug addiction.
Okay.
Like there wasn't like the Dead scene kind of nurtured me through that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm terrified to think what I would ended up like had I not like ran off with the Grateful Dead.
Absolutely.
Because I was a mess. You know what I'm saying?
I think you said that once in one of your Dead podcasts. You said you were sitting somewhere on a porch, maybe in Florida, and Here Comes Sunshine, California, and Here Comes Sunshine came on. And you're kind of like, this is what I want to do.
Yep.
I remember that story because I liked it. I was like, I wish I had the balls to say
I want that.
Yeah, right. I wish everybody could have that.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting though, Charlie and Steve, that you saw it one way, Steve was feeling it a different way, and that those two, I mean, forgive me for waxing philosophical, but I don't know either of you from that time really.
Right.
So it's like it's really interesting for Steve, like that you were beaten down, or at least felt really isolated and shitty, Steve.
Oh, I felt very isolated.
Right, but to Charlie, we're like, man, this guy
got it going on.
I got to toot his hooter for 5 years with the Dead and have fun and get wild and
he plays guitar and he got this stuff together. He can be in a band if you want.
The guitar just adds 20 cool points like right away.
Yes, of course.
So anyway, like we had that time, and then you went off to Denver and I didn't, and we keep in sort of contact, and like you seemed like you were doing really well. You got the job at the law firm because of the software technology thing, and Nikki's nursing, and Owen came along, and like you were just doing, and so I'd see you at shows periodically. I'd come out to Red Rocks every once in a while, and like everybody's doing good,
Yep.
And like, so I did not, and you can talk about this as much as you want, but like you kind of, like you started to kind of get sober a few years ago, 4 or 5, right?
Yeah, I think I haven't drank in 6 years now.
Yeah, okay.
And I just quit drinking. I don't know how you want to define it. Get sober, just whatever. I just quit drinking. I was like, this sucks. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm just done. And I just basically just quit, and I haven't really looked back. First few months I went to some meetings and things and talked to people. And then, and then I was just like, I just despise that person, or that I could get into that. It's really weird. I mean, I have this whole, it's such a tangled web. I mean, if you go back, and I always thought that I would never drink growing up because I was pissed off at my alcoholic kid beating father. That he was a drunk that decided that booze was more important than his family, and then I was always pissed off about that. I'm like, that's why I'm a Shonka. That's why I'm in Nebraska and not with my grandparents and living in Oklahoma with all my cousins and aunts and stuff. I'm up here now and this and that. And it was confusing, because it always was told what a horrible person this person was, and so you associate alcohol with horrible person. And so then I was like, I'll never drink. I'll never, ever, ever drink, And then my stepbrother, he started partying in high school. And then honestly, about senior year, New Year's Eve, he's like, come on, man, let's just go out. And I was like, screw it, and ended up drinking Purple Passion with him all night. And he was drinking beers. I was a wuss. I'm 18 years old and never even drank. Wow. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And get so hungover you can't stand it the next day. But that night ended up turning into a shit show, as those things do when you're unexperienced, and getting yelled at by our parents when we came home, because of course we're 18 and all that, But then after that, then I started, I don't know, I just kind of just partied, through whatever, as much as I could, not like crazy levels, but, concerts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I always kind of had that disappointment feeling in myself. Like, well, you said you were never going to be a boozer, and now you kind of are. So you failed, even though I wasn't like, I wasn't out getting DUIs or getting tossed in jail or anything, I was just kind of like pissed off, that I was like, well, maybe you shouldn't have done that because who knows, Then I had like the guilt, or not guilt, but I just think I had just this weird feeling that everybody in my inner family and the Shonka side of my family was looking down on us that we had a kid so early, and thought that we were just kind of like, just trashy or whatever, and it just really was a weird feeling. Nikki wasn't getting that at all from her family.
Right.
But
I never felt that way. I thought you guys were killing it.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's weird how you see it from yourself, because I was seeing my other friends from high school, like graduating UNL.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's real.
And we have a baby, and I'm barely getting it, at Lincoln School of Commerce. So I'm just like, okay, who fucked up here? Because these were the guys that I considered, that I was acing in high school and stuff, and in my grades and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh man, and now why am I the fuck up?
You definitely, you definitely got. But it's not like you weren't like you. I mean, like the like having a baby thing, like that's different than like just not being motivated.
Right.
That's a different dynamic entirely. You know, it's like you kind of got sidetracked for a little while. You know,
right?
You had other priorities.
Absolutely, like going to the grocery store with a calculator, knowing you can only spend this much.
Right. Yeah. No, that's real.
That's real.
Yeah. How things have changed. I remember that it was the grocery store right next to you, man, over on 17th in Washington.
Oh yeah,
that lovely IGA.
Or
Russ's. Danger Russes. That's what we call it.
Exactly.
Russes.
It was getting sketched back then, but I'm pretty sure it's a little different now.
Oh, it's a circus now.
I'm sure.
I just think that it's fascinating, Charlie. I mean, somebody who sort of still exists in rooms of recovery, that somebody is just like, yeah, I'm done with that. Like this drinking's caused me some problems. I think I'm going to stop. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't that simple or that easy, but I mean, I think that's really refreshing to hear, because sometimes even in my own mind, I can think, well, you've got to have treatment and meetings and all this stuff. And then that's not always the case. That's not everybody's story with quitting drinking.
Right. And I think, I can see all kinds of, I see the benefits every day. I have great friends out here and great friends back there that have worked the program, and they're kicking butt. I mean, I have a good friend out here, Marissa, who's, God, I think she's 7 years in now, and just completely clean and sober. And she was a train wreck 10 years ago. I mean, to the point of we didn't want to hang out with her. But now she's just lovely. I mean, she's great to be around. She's got her stuff together, got a job, she's all healthy and everything. And it's like, that can just tear you apart, I mean, and so when I was thinking about it, I was just like, I'm tired of waking up even more self-loathing than I had the day before, because it was just there, and then it's weird. And maybe you have heard this when Steve mentioned self-loathing. I mean, you get this voice in your head that just kind of like, you suck, you see yourself in the mirror. It's, you suck, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. Well, booze can turn that voice off like that, and so
good.
4 or 5, 6 beers, and you don't hear that voice saying you suck anymore. So it's a great night out.
Have another. It just turns into you're doing great, man.
Yeah,
just have
you don't suck.
You're gorgeous.
You're great. Then you realize, well, that sucks to want that. You're just like, so I got to go out and down 6 IPAs just to not think I suck. Well, that's not fun, And then you're like, okay, and then then just the depression that comes after when you go. And it wasn't like I said, it wasn't like I was doing this every day or anything, but if I wanted to go out and party, I would go out. I'm thinking, I'm not going to go have 1 beer. I'm going to have none, or I'm going to have 10, or whatever, and these aren't like Miller Lights. These are like, I was going with like bourbon aged stouts at the time, so we're talking 10%ers, but that was just the point, it's like, I'm not having 1, I'm having 0, or I'm having 10. And that's the point, and it's like, well, that sucks. You don't need that, Once you figure that out, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, it's great going to some of the meetings around here and just talking to people. And it's, you kind of see, and it's, and you can see this in some of the stories. It's like you see a role model by default or an anti-role model, you don't want to do that.
Everybody's an example.
And you're like, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to be there. And so you think about things differently. And, I had friends up here, that were like, I didn't even think you have a problem. I drink way more than you. And I'm like, I know, but that's just, for me, it's just, and they're like, I'm never like really into the harder drugs, I mean, I'll smoke, or I, and then, there's a few times I experiment with psychedelics and stuff, but that's long gone. Never got into the powders or the craziness, and so I'm okay with that. I'm glad I didn't have that to deal with, I mean, self-loathing is bad enough. It'd be bad to have like an addiction on top of that to things, that were just horrible.
It makes the circus a little more sharp, edgy, strange. The clowns look a little scarier. Yeah.
Right.
So that started like, 6 years ago?
When I just stopped entirely?
Yeah.
It was right after Broncos won the Super Bowl. So 6 years ago.
So you had an experience, 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, where like kind of the past reared its ugly head in sobriety.
Yes.
That's what that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about.
For
because
sure.
That's your brain kind of turned on you, I think, or not necessarily turned on you, but like some of the things that you just were maybe unaddressed from your past started coming out in ways that weren't awesome.
Oh, it did. It came out like it really, I mean, the catalyst, I believe, was a really good musician, and he ended up becoming a friend of mine, Jeff Austin.
Jeff Austin.
Band.
Yep.
And so Jeff Austin he was basically, I mean, he was the guy for us. I mean, we came out here and
Yep.
Yonder was going,
he was your guy.
He was the guy. He was just
yeah.
his bands or his side projects, and we'd hang out with him, and he was the guy for us, musically anyway. In about 2000, and we all knew he had his issues, like rock stars end up doing, and we're looking, saying, okay, let's hopefully Jeff can get this turned around or whatever, and he would for a bit, and then he wouldn't for a bit, and then eventually his bandmates kicked him out around 2014.
Yep.
And
Yonder.
That was he kicked him out of Yonder Mountain String Band.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yep. They kicked him out. Well, I mean, okay, official channels say he quit. I will say otherwise.
Right.
Anyways, so he, he was out of the band and trying to do his stuff and everything, and then he seemed to almost get it together and then have a fallback, and then almost get it together and have a fallback, and we're like just waiting for this energy and this train to come back through so we can all hop on board again. We're like, okay, he's married, he has a couple kids of his own now, he's kicking ass. We see him in April of 2018, 19, whatever this was, 19, and he is just on top of the world, and we're all like, okay, he's back, he is back, Jeff Austin is back, and this summer is gonna be just the greatest ever. See him a month and a half later, the guy can barely walk, barely speak, he's crying on stage, he says his life is shit from stage to an audience.
That's not great.
We're looking at him, and I'm like, and I know him well enough to be like, Jeff, this isn't okay. I've known you for 20 years now as at least a fan, and now we're friends. And I ended up Facebooking his wife saying, someone needs to get Jeff off the road right now.
Yeah.
He is headed for an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't 3 words into the first song, and it's just complete train wreck, and we're like, he can't function. And then the whole show was a disaster like that for an hour and a half. Had to restart songs several times that he's played 1,000 times and just couldn't get through it. He's crying at the end saying, I'm sorry, but my life is shit right now. And we're all like, okay, you don't say that to a live audience full of fans, but unless something's really wrong. I get a message to his wife, and she's like, we're fine, he's just tired, he's been doing everything on his own. 3 weeks later, he hangs himself. He's got young children at home, and I lost it. I absolutely broke down. Like something inside broke. And it wasn't even like, because I think, since you always have I don't know if you want to call it a hero or something, but somebody you wish you could be if you weren't yourself just for a little while. And it was always that. I was like, I'd love to be Jeff Austin on stage for a day, 10 days, a tour,
Right.
And when that happened, I just lost it. I'm like, this guy had his stuff back together. He has this beautiful wife and these 2 beautiful children of his own, and his other one that he adopted, and it's just he's coming back, and yet no, just no. And so just things just all kind of fell apart at that moment. It honestly, it triggered me to the point where my brother 10 years ago passed away, and he was an alcoholic, and our last words were in anger, basically me telling him to get his shit together because he's pissing off the family. And I'm like, you really need to get your shit together. And he's yelling at me saying I'm the chosen one and all this nonsense. I guess brother, sibling rivalry or whatever. And I always thought the opposite. I thought he was the chosen one. Right. He thought I was the chosen one. Too bad we couldn't have actually talked together. And and he ended up they say they don't really know. He stepped in front of traffic. And so I don't know if it was at a drunken haze, but they didn't charge the driver. But he was just on a massive bender and basically had somehow checked into a hotel, and the next day was planning on just staggering into Vegas, because that's what he would do when he would go on just a terrible bender. But he stepped out in traffic, and so that was 10 years prior. So when I'm telling Jeff Austin's wife this, I'm like, this is exactly what I saw 10 years ago, because I had posted on Jeff Austin's in a message board that I'm on saying last night's performance was shit, guys. We need to whoever can talk to Jeff, get him off the road, blah blah. I thought I was doing him a favor. But then he and his wife were kind of like, well, if you were a real fan, you wouldn't have posted that online, and kind of gave me some shit for it. And so 3 weeks later, he's dead. And so, of course, I'm taking that to heart, because I'm like, I'm one of his biggest fans, and I just trashed him online for for the performance he gave last night. And, he kind of called me out for it, and then he dies 3 weeks later. So I'm just losing it, because. But
you see the act of service that was now, though, right? I mean, you see the love and the compassion that was there now, right?
Now I do, yeah. Okay, and his wife does and everything. I mean, they had a memorial service for him out here, and she just hugged me and broke down, said she was so sorry for not listening to me and stuff. And I'm like, well, there's nothing any of us could have done if he was already in the mindset to do that, I mean.
I appreciate you being so vulnerable and open, Charlie, because it's super powerful for a lot of reasons. Being somebody who is in recovery and sober, it's so intense I relate in some ways, not to the level that, you know, Jeff Austin was like, being at that point where you are being adored by people, but yet saying everything sucks. Like you are literally in the spotlight,
right,
with people that paid good money to come see you do your thing, and you cannot see it. You can't see beyond the lip of the stage.
Yeah.
I mean, that if that's not a perfect sort of image of drug addiction, alcoholism, mental illness, all wrapped up into one, where it's like you're here with all the tools and all the people rooting for you, and you just can't see it. And exactly. I don't know. That's a lot.
No, I agree with you 100%. It's hard. That's what I have no shame in my game. I go to therapy now, and I don't go anymore. We do it on Zoom and everything.
Right? Yeah, isn't that weird?
I have a therapist I talk with, once every 2 weeks. If things get dicey, I'll say, can we bump it to once a week, or whatever. I usually try to alternate therapy and then voice lessons every other week, because I have a friend from high school who ended up becoming like a professional opera singer and stuff. But I'm trying to sing and play guitar more and want to get my chops back. So I'll do a half-hour Zoom with her and play her a couple songs, and she'll say, okay, do this, change your twang here, do this, and just help me,
change your twang.
So that's as good as therapy, and it's cheap.
Yeah, right.
So what? And I hang out with Kim, and it's awesome.
Yeah. So what did that next year look like after Jeff passed, and like how did that hit? Like how did you react to that? Like how did you get from that point to going to therapy twice a week?
Yeah.
So that was a long summer, and I'll try to quickly go quicker.
No, you're good. You're good.
Your whole podcast away. I could do this, but
no, this is what I want. This is like where the meat is,
Okay. Well, so Jeff hanged himself over the weekend it was Telluride Bluegrass Festival weekend, which is huge for people in Colorado. The Jamgrass fan scene, it's just huge, right?
It's a big deal. Yeah.
And all of a sudden there was like a Twitter pop. And somebody posted on the Jeff Austin page saying, is this true? Because there was something on Twitter saying Jeff Austin is dead. This is something coming out of Seattle. And so I'm doing Spin and Deflect, because I'm the moderator of his fan page on Facebook, one of them. And I'm doing Spin and Deflect all day long. Ends up coming up true, and so we're all just wrecked. That weekend kind of passes, and we're still all in shock. We can't believe this happened. Tuesday, I'm sitting in the parking lot at my son's tennis practice, and I just start like shaking and shuddering and like sobbing to the point where I can't get control of myself, and I don't know what's going on. Nikki just calls me out of the blue because she was coming home from work or something, just wanted to talk to me, and she knew I was just sitting in the parking lot of practice, and she realized like quickly that I couldn't like make words and and speak coherently. So she's like, I'm just coming to get you. Please do not start that car and drive. And I'm like, don't worry about that. And so she comes out, and I just lost it, and things just spiraled worse, and things just started coming up about just childhood stuff. I mean, there were just like almost like flashbacks that you see in the movies, where you just see like this like traumatic violent scene in your head, and then it goes away, like getting hit or getting held against my will, things like that, getting just ripped on, made fun of, being called fat, being ashamed for being fat, this, that, stuff just starts coming up, and it's coming up fast, and I have no lid on it, and it's just firing off like a volcano. And Nikki's like, oh my God, I had no idea. She's like, I had no idea. She didn't even know. She didn't even know some of this stuff.
And she's the closest person in your life.
Yeah, right? And it's the first time I've ever admitted to myself the source of some of these abuses,
right?
That I could never even admit to myself or whatever. And then things just were breaking down. I mean, physically breaking down. I didn't eat for 4 days, 5 days in a row, just things like that, and so the next morning we go into my doctor, and she's like, okay, you really need to calm down here. And she's like, I know you're anti-meds for the most part. I mean, she's talked into me like this tiny dose that she says is like a kid's level, but it goes back to the pill popping that my family did. I'm scared of pills. Right. My family had a massive pill thing growing up, and I don't even take aspirin and stuff. I'm like, I can get through this, because I just don't like pills. And I made that perfectly clear to any therapist or doctor that's talked to me, because I've got family issues with pills, lots of them, and I just don't want them.
Right.
And so, but I'll take, what she says, just for, and she's like, we need to do this. I need to get you into, you need to call your therapist, get her, that therapist. We were talking to her, and I had Nikki sit in with me, and she has before, just to talk about things together sometimes, because Nikki likes it too. And I'm like, hey, you want to sit in here and we can rap with Barb together? And she's like, yeah.
Nice.
And, but just stuff kept coming out more. And she's like, Charlie, you need to do some EMDR.
Oh, wow.
She's
Awesome.
like,
my wife does EMDR, by trade.
It's great. It's rapid eye movement, and it brings up trauma. And so she gave me a lady's number, and I called Christina, and I started going to EMDR sessions. And
was it helpful? Did it work?
It was very, very helpful. And I don't know how.
Good.
Because I thought I'd tried it once before, and it didn't seem to be helpful. Maybe I wasn't in the place yet. Maybe the whole thing just split me open to the point where here comes the magma.
That's kind of. I mean, I teach theater, Charlie. I'm in no way a therapist or a professional in that way, but it sounds like, thank goodness you had your wife and people around you, because
absolutely.
like the earth opened up, and it was like, here comes the lava, and you were at that point willing to look at that stuff. So EMDR was like useful because you were like, your spirit it couldn't avoid the shit that was coming up. Like, it was just like, here it is. We've got to deal with that.
Right.
And I just want to say, like, it's not lost on me that we're three, middle-aged dudes talking about, trauma and therapy. And I think that that's really, really fucking important. And I'm just really grateful that you're willing to share about that shit, dude, and your journey with that, because, there's that sort of toxic masculinity.
I was just
culture.
Gonna say that.
Bullshit.
Yeah, please. Yeah. That shit
we all, I mean, did you grow up in Nebraska too? I mean, Steve, you didn't really grow up in, well, you did. You
I did.
There, you were back.
I'm a Nebraska guy, basically.
So we're all Midwestern dudes, all right?
Yep.
We don't talk about that shit in the Midwest.
Right.
You don't talk about things. You just put your head down and you move on. Stuff's not that bad. There was a worse winter last winter. I mean, you don't talk about things. I mean, that's just ingrained in your head from day one. I mean, you just don't talk about things. It's crazy.
And then
that's why when I play your podcast, I'm like, that's so awesome, because it's the whole, and you see it everywhere. I just notice it. I think sometimes when I come home, you see bro culture going hardcore.
Oh yeah.
Like that there was a lot, I'm sure there's a lot out here too, but there's also a lot of things to counter that. So I keep myself in my circle, so I don't see bro culture unless I'm downtown at the sporting events, and then I kind of laugh,
Yeah, right.
But I just you just notice that every once in wherever you're at, and I'm like, that's so what it was. That's why even after high school and stuff, I thought I failed because I made a baby before the plan of, you graduate, you do this, you do this, you gotta get that you gotta get that house out in the Knolls and do this or that.
The Knolls, come on, man.
Well, back in the 80s,
the Knolls is been leveled, dude.
Oh, okay. Back in the 80s and 90s, that was like a target, right?
Oh, for sure. Well, it's just funny that's the plan, or like, I love that you mentioned that, and I don't want to drive by that point, Charlie, because it's like I can recall those messages of, well, put your head down, dust yourself off, get back out there. Or if it gets real bad, you need to go to church more and pray more, and like, you need some visible thing to fix it. And without any effort on your part, it's just going to happen or something. And that is a very toxic Midwest. Well, it's everywhere, but I hear that a lot. I think there's some DNA baked into this part of the world where men are expected to lock it up, man up, move forward, and I know we're cutting you off. I just want to make sure that point is really clear. It's really beautiful. And if you could maybe talk a little bit more about that journey, like those first therapy appointments, and was that a freeing experience? Like,
it was.
How has that been for you?
I mean, they were great. I mean, they were, I took 8 weeks off work at that point.
I remember
I took FMLA because I wasn't able to function. I really wasn't.
So that was after the Boulder 19 Dead and Company shows, right?
Yes.
Because I remember that. I remember, and I kind of feel bad. I don't know, there was something wrong, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I was kind of up in my head about my own shit. And and we had come out kind of as a group from Lincoln, so I wanted to hang out with that group, and I was like, hey, there's Charlie. All right, well, I'm gonna go back over the other side of the stadium or whatever. See ya. And then like the next day, you weren't there,
right?
And I think it was Dirks that was like, yeah, yesterday didn't go very well.
So what happened there? And this, I have no problem talking about this. So what? And it's actually good when I do. It's so weird. So I mean, now that I look back, it's not weird. But so Jeff died. Let's say the 22nd or something, and then like the Dead and Company shows are the following week, weekend, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a disaster. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
See, and I could tell that something was wrong, but I didn't. Like it didn't. I had no idea the gravity of the situation. You know what I'm saying?
And so, but that night is when like a major like lightning bolt breaking point too. Because what happened is, so my sister and her husband wanted to come out, and we said that's cool because they wanted to see. He was really getting into Dead and Company at the time, and I was like, good, because he had never been a Deadhead at all growing up. He was just like everyone made fun of him and stuff in Fremont, Nebraska, and so I never listened to him. And I'm like, well. And so he started actually listening to Dead and Company more than the Dead. And I'm like, well, I'll give you a pass because you never heard the Dead. That's fine. I'll give you a pass because this is what's happening. This is what's happening right now. So I get it. Hey, I never saw Jerry. I get it. I mean, I get it. I get it. People that have say it's, everything else sucks, since then.
No, I don't say that.
Steve doesn't, but a lot of people
Steve's
do.
Cool.
Sure.
But anyway, so we're at the show, and then, things that just, when they were up here, things were okay, but you could tell I was on edge. I was just losing my mind. And then we go to the show, and then we're at the show, and a hailstorm comes in, and they send us all under the overhangs.
Yeah.
So we're all for a while, blah, blah, blah. Finally, the hailstorm dissipates, and they send us back to our seats, and these people are in our seats. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, because it's GA, but look, all of our stuff is here. You guys should probably just scoot over there.
Right.
And they get all pissed and just start yelling at me. And I'm in no position right now to like be bullied or be told that and I'm like, no, I'm not moving. I'll stand here.
I'll stand here.
I'm like, I'm going to stand right here.
Right.
And then the girl in the relationship starts yelling and screaming at me. And then she starts like running at me and like trying to elbow me out of the way. But I'm like, she's like $105 and I'm like, 275. So she's kind of like bouncing off me as she tries to push me away. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. And then her husband is kind of like, her guys like, dude, just move. I'm like, well, you guys, look, our water and stuff is here. Just go somewhere else, man. We've been here since like an hour before the show time.
Right.
Go away. And then it just escalates and escalates and escalates. And then my brother-in-law and sister come back and then they start yelling, not at them, at me. And they're like, they're a few in at this point. I think they've had a couple, and I'm like, I had like a pot soda thing, and then but I'm like, okay, so I'm high, all right. I smoked some pot. I'm not like in rage mode, okay.
Right.
I was like, oh, you were so high, you were in rage mode. I'm like, there is no such thing.
That's not a thing.
You just get real tired.
Yes, and that's all I have is marijuana and iced tea in my system. Okay, so I'm not like going crazy here. The shit escalates. Then JJ starts yelling, and he leaves the situation. Then the girl starts firing up and like throwing punches at me. And I'm still laughing because I'm like, I'm not going to be bullied. This isn't going to happen. The security comes over and what's going on here? And I'm like, well, these people want me to leave and I don't want to leave and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, what's going on? I'm like, well, they're like, well, do you want to leave? And I'm like, no, this girl hit me and everybody around here saw it. So you can take her out or she can leave on her own.
Right.
But I'm keeping these seats. And then the script just flipped. The cops are like, did people see her hit you? And everyone's like, yeah, she full on punched him. And he's like, you want me to take her to jail? I'm like, no, she can leave willingly or you can take her. That's the choice.
Right.
Oh, that's not Deadhead like. And they're all yelling at me. And I'm like, dude, you have the choice now. You can leave willingly or you can go to jail. And so finally they left. And my sister started yelling at me, what the hell is wrong with you? This is not like you. What in the F in your whole goddamn effing life is so wrong? I'm tired of your mental health issues, and just starts lambasting me, all right? JJ is gone, and I'm already pissed that, like, I'm about to possibly be in a fight. And I don't get into a fight, but if something happens, people shouldn't leave you.
Right.
Like, they need to stick. You know who your brothers are when they stick by you? Like Shane Dirks. Steve knows Shane Dirks. Shane Dirks is a small dude. He's not going to fight or be able to be in a fight.
But he didn't stand there.
He stood there right next to me just to make sure stuff didn't get bad.
Yeah. Dirks is good like that.
When that happened, screaming at me, and then finally, this is all before the music's not even playing. This is all before the show.
Right.
And she's like, so what in the F is so bad in your life that you just have to have these breakdowns or whatever? And I'm just like, maybe because your father sexually assaulted me when I was a kid and blah, 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 blah. And this is my stepdad, her biological dad, the one that adopted us and everything. And it just came out. It just came out like a freaking volcano.
Wow.
And I honestly don't even know if I'm merging memories or whatever, because I was 3, 4, 5 years old and everything is just so horrible and so traumatic. And all of a sudden I have a dad if I look this way, and now this guy's dad, and I'm merging. I just don't know what's going on, and I've been working on that stuff too, But there was a whole lot of stuff that just came up. Well, she just lost it because obviously that's her dad.
Right.
So she and her husband just left. They just left Boulder. They just left. Wow. They left me in Boulder. Well, I'm like in the middle of a nervous breakdown. They just left. They just wouldn't get my Wow. And so I'm just sitting there, and eventually I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm in a calm enough place where I'll just drive myself home. Again, I'm not hammered or anything, so I'll just go home. And ended up driving home, and they were staying at our house. But when they got home, Nikki said that they had just went straight to bed and everything, and then and the next day we kind of had a little bit of an issue, and I said, I should probably leave because we're not going to agree on this, and if we're going to fight about this, and then my family they end up saying that I'm just a pothead, and that's why the whole situation went sideways.
Sure.
And I'm like, no, I really have some serious mental health issues that I need to address. Sure, I'm a pothead, fine, but that's not what made me blow up.
Yeah, but pothead, and I have mental health stuff that needs to be worked on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like, look, man. I mean, I'd probably better that I didn't explode, but so that's where we were, and it's been, and then so. After that, that's when I started doing some EMDR with Christina and everything. Because like I said, it's all within that week. And Christina said, maybe you should, once we start getting some things out, she's like, have you ever told your mom all these things that you were thinking about that divorce and all this stuff, And not like to, just bitch at her, just to say, this is what I think about this, And I kind of told her, I wrote her an email and said, look, and Christina even read it. And she's like, that's perfect. That's an adult thing to do. She's like, you're not in a place where you can actually verbalize right now, but this is a thing to start.
Yeah.
Well, I did that. And then apparently she shared that email, which I was considering completely the utmost private of all private things, shared that with my sisters. And then I just get I get my sister just calling and telling me what a piece of shit I am.
Oh.
First, and she never wants to speak to me again. This is my older sister, and how she'll never ever talk to me again, and how I'm just the worst, and I was a terrible child, and all this shit. And I'm just like, see, okay, there we are. I'm like, okay. So that's kind of where that went. And
Charlie, what happens when we actually start getting honest about that shit, especially in dynamics, and I don't want to assume anything about your family, but in those dynamics where it's like if other folks aren't ready to look at that stuff, it's a violent protection of
their construct,
their memory. And I don't know all the ins and outs, but to just know that you've walked through your healing continuously since is a commitment to you, to your wife, to your kids, to us, right? And to me right now, that like you allowing the noise to be the noise and continuing to like do the shit in front of you to heal, right? Yeah. I mean, was that sort of the motivation at the time? It was
I mean, honestly,
I got to heal this shit.
I take solace in it's actually a Jeff Austin written song, but the song is called "Keep On Going." And unfortunately he didn't, but I'm going to, and it's always keep on going. I actually put it on my arm. Nice. And there's just, and I have my license plate of my Jeep that I made it keep on going. I actually made a keepongoing.life anti-suicide website after this happened. I haven't updated as much as I want to, but there's resources and stuff on there, and I'd like to get more back involved. People were trying to say, let's start up a 501c3 on this, but I'm like, right now I just do not have that kind of time to dedicate, but I understand would like to. I bought the domain and I own it, and I registered it with the state.
Keepongoing.life.
Keepongoing.life. Yeah.
All right, cool.
And so I wrote my story in there, like why this site was, built and things like that.
I remember you doing that. I've seen the website.
Yeah, and it's just like I said, I got really lapsed with updating it and stuff. It's old,
So
but
here's the thing.
I still have it, I'll get back on it and stuff.
Here's the thing that's just tickled me the last year or so is you sending me videos of you playing guitar, and you played shows.
Yeah, a couple.
Like that's so amazing that you're like, to me, that's, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems like it's part of like your commitment to healing and just being like, you know what, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to go play music to honor your lost brother and to help yourself, because music is healing, period.
Yeah, it's absolute therapy for me, and it's I've wanted to play a guitar and just be on a stage since I was a little kid, and for some reason I just squashed that out of my mind and thought, you know, maybe when we had a baby or whatever, just that's just for
can't do that, gotta work,
can't do that. And then a few years ago, Nikki said, you know, was there ever a present you wanted as a kid that you never really got one of? And I'm like, I just wanted an acoustic guitar, but never really gave it much thought. And so she took me to the guitar shop. We bought a used $150 Fender acoustic guitar. And I just been playing that. And then after that happened with Jeff and everything, I just started just cranking it up, playing it all the time. And now COVID made more and more and more. And I'm actually thinking of working up some songs with you to open up a show in June.
That'd be so great, dude. We can do that over Zoom.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Yes.
I
know all the same songs.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That video you sent of you, I don't remember the song, but you were playing by the side of a highway, kind of at sundown. That's like one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
It was just really cool
in general, but knowing that it was you and kind of what you've been through, I'm like, that's the gravy right there.
Yep.
Like, that is my brother. That's not just healing. That's like thriving and putting,
thriving.
Like joy out into the world despite everything.
When COVID first started, I still go up there all the time. There's a hill just east of my house, and Aurora sits about 150 feet higher than Denver, and so you can sit on this hill in my house and see the entire Front Range, the entire sunset. You can see the buildings of Denver, because I'm about 15 miles east of the downtown area. And so I go up there and play guitar right by that road, and people just drive by and honk, or they'll pull over or whatever.
That's rad.
When COVID first happened, this one time I remember forever, this nurse just stopped by and said, "Can I just listen to you play for a while? Because I've had a shitty month."
Oh, that's so cool.
For like a half an hour, and probably because the playing was so bad, but and just let me play songs. And she's like, "I needed that so much," and then she left, you know. And I was like,
"Wow,
that's really service work, is what
beautiful."
That is.
Yeah.
I put on a Santa suit and sit on the corner by my house over Christmas this year,
dude. That's so cool.
I just played like Christmas songs, like, you know, the 3 and 4 chord Christmas songs you can rock out, and people are driving by honking and kids are waving and everything.
Oh, that's so awesome.
That's great.
That's got to be very therapeutic and fun.
It is. And it's just something like, wow, this is so, you know, and people enjoy it. I enjoy it, you know. I mean, you know, I'm sure Nikki and Owen don't enjoy it as much.
I can relate to that.
A different song. I've heard that same song.
Dude, seriously.
But but I mean, thankfully, Nikki has been great, and we've used it as a great opportunity to tell our kids, use therapy. If you're broken, if there's not you're broken, but if there's something that feels broken, go talk through it, you know. And Connor's had some issues with college and stuff, and so he's talked to people before, you know, because we're worried, you know, a little wondering if depression runs in our family. It seems like it does, you know. My biological father had some issues with alcoholism and depression and stuff, and then my older sister and stuff, and certainly I think my mom and stuff. And so it's like, why not give them these resources, you know?
I think that's beautiful, because like when I was like a punk ass teenager, I went to therapy, and it felt like a punishment. So I just like, it felt like detention. So I was going to be the fucking, you know, shitty kid in detention.
Yes.
And even well into recovery from drug addiction and alcoholism, I sort of like, I still had these old stories about therapy, you know, and like that I don't need that. And it's only been the last year or so that I've gone in earnest. And I'm like, fuck. It's so, I mean, I think it's really cool that you're able to talk to your kids about it, that you're open about it, that like, even though that scary thing sort of broke you open, you were able to lean into a solution. And I can only assume that you're doing okay, right?
Yeah,
that thing didn't kill you. You've kept going.
No, exactly right. I'm gonna keep going. You know, I owe it, you know, to myself. And then before I was like, oh, I owe it to my kids. But now it's like that's kind of shifted. You know, I even told Nikki there were times, you know, I'm like, there were times where I was so low in the past 20 years or whatever, that the only reason that I didn't take, you know, easy, the hard way out, whatever, is because I owe it to my kids not to abandon them like my dad abandoned me. And so, but now I don't just put it on them, you know. It's like, no, I owe myself, man. I owe myself another, hopefully, 40 years of this earth, you know, and to go enjoy it before my, you know, faculties die off and stuff.
And Steve and I have talked about it just with our sort of recovery and meditation and stuff like that, like to be able to sort of cultivate a safe place within you. That the storm outside, the volcanoes can burst. I mean, it can't be for someone else, as much as that's very noble. If I don't cultivate that love and care and openness towards myself and that safe place within, I'm fucked. Like if I, you know what I mean? Like
right, yeah.
Anybody, it's this, somebody can be, you know, I can be like Jeff Austin on stage surrounded by the solution and be completely shut down.
Melting down.
Absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. I completely, yeah. When you get in your head like that, it's just so hard to get out. But
yeah,
if you always have like a little lifeline or a little something that you can cling to, you know, like that, you can just, okay, you got it. You keep on going. You can get through this. You think about it differently, you know, you get the tricks. You go force yourself to break a sweat exercising, you know, something like that will get me in. Even though I just feel like a bag of dicks that day, I'm like, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to force myself to play this guitar for
I'm just
an hour.
A wet bag of dicks on this fucking treadmill, but I don't want to die.
Right, exactly. I'm gonna come down here and play 30 pissed off blues songs, but then you know what? I'll feel better when I'm done, and then I'll go back outside.
Exactly. I always think that I look like some cool when I'm on my bicycle, and then we're riding downtown, and I see myself in a reflection. I'm like, that's what I'm gonna think of now and laugh. Thank you, Charlie.
Just a bag of dicks.
There's a wet bag of dicks out there, but. Keep going,
you know what's
dude.
funny is right now, just no one else is going to see this, but right now, each time I look up at you or whatever, you remind me of, I mean, Jeff Austin always wore a Cubs hat. He had black glasses and long brown hair. So you do, he's like, okay, you got the Jeff Austin look going on.
Wow.
He did. He had glasses just like yours, long hair like that, and a Cubs hat for like the first 15 years that I knew him.
Wow.
Never had a beard, but yeah, it's just like, okay.
So, we're getting close to the end of our time, Charlie, but one of the things we definitely always want to ask our guests is, and I can't wait for your response. What are you listening to these days? What are you into?
You know, there's always a never ever ending rotation, always of Dead, Fish, Billy Strings, Yonder Mountain String Band that never, you know, they'll always hear a little bit of those guys almost at least daily. I just went to the record shop and just came back with some J.J. Cale, some Leon Russell, and a new Chris Cornell that just got dropped with a bunch of his covers. So that's kind of all over the place. I listen to a lot of old flat picking guitar, which is weird because I don't play that style at all. I chop chords and I sing, you know. I don't even try to flat pick, you know. I'll try to play a solo around the 3-4 chords of the song, but it's pretty garbage, and I'm okay with that. But a lot of flat picking guitar. I mean, Billy Strings though is
that whole situation is just incredible.
Well, so my buddy John Grubbs, I don't know if you listen to this, but thanks, John. He's keeps sending me. Well, and Chris, our friend Chris Meek keeps sending me like Billy Strings. Yeah, check out Billy Strings. Like, where do I start? I've listened to a little bit. I think I've listened to him play some Dead stuff.
Yeah. Like, well, he just did that Dead run.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he's playing. I mean, well, if you want to spend $15, you can watch a webcast tomorrow night because he's playing 3 shows and nugs.net is doing all 3. Oh, cool. You can also listen to my Mixlr because I play Billy Strings a lot. So I can text Steve my Mixlr. And
wait. Are you the guy that was kind of streaming stuff?
Yeah, that's Charlie.
Oh, yes. I was following your streams on Mixlr for sure.
Yeah, so I play Billy Strings all the time. Like, he's going to play 3 shows that are webcasts this weekend. I'll probably play just the audio only on my stream because there's a lot of people that just can't right now pony up for a webcast or just don't want to, but they want to listen to it. So I'm like, I'm friends with this sound guy and stuff. He's like, I don't care, dude. And I'm like, all right, good. I'll Mixlr the official audio.
Yeah, dude, send me that link again. I probably have it.
Yeah, it's just mixlr.com, see Shonka.
Yeah,
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
All right, Billy.
Yeah, so I mean, that's good. I mean, honestly, if you want to listen to something, just if you have Spotify or something, just look at his most recent album called Home. It just won the Grammy.
Okay.
It just won the Grammy for bluegrass last year, and it's certainly not bluegrass. It's not your father's or grandfather's bluegrass, but his most recent album, Home, that thing is solid. And this kid's only 26.
Amazing.
And he had 200,000 people listening to one of his Cap Theater shows online.
That's amazing.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because what Trey's band did some stuff at the Cap Theater, right? Is that the same place?
Cap Theater is a thing.
The Beacon.
The Beacon.
There we go. Yeah.
Yep.
Because the Cap's like somewhere up in Portsburg or something.
Portchester, New York.
There
we go.
Yep.
I think the Beacon. I've never been up there, so I don't even know. I need to get up to the East Coast.
Yeah, the Beacon's right in Manhattan, I think, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah. Beacon's in New York City or that, and I know the other one's up a ways.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What about you guys? What are you listening to?
Oh my God. I listened to the entire Dark Star from 4872 this evening.
Nice.
It's ridiculous. It's so amazing.
Yes, it is.
It's just, and I've always been partial to 51172, the Rotterdam show, which has kind of the same, it's like the same Dark Star, Sugar Magnolia, Caution, but that 581 just, I was like, oh my God, this is so good.
Oh yeah, the one was it on Today in Grateful Dead History?
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, on the re-listen app.
Gotcha. Nice.
I'm always listening to Pearl Jam. They're kind of they released a show because they had to cancel some dates, which we all kind of knew were going to happen. But they had European dates on the books and they canceled them, so they put a free show out from 2006.
Oh, awesome.
2010. No, it was 2010. It was in London, and it was like, these guys. I mean, they were 20, been around 20 years by this time.
Right.
And this show is nuts. I mean, these people in London are throwing each other around. Ed keeps having to say like, "Hey, be safe." People died at the show 10 years ago. Not gonna this isn't the 90s anymore, but people are going crazy. I mean, they were playing their nuts off. And
Pearl Jam got involved with Nugs.net recently, and so you can get just a treasure trove of their archive concerts.
I didn't know they were on Nugs. I'll have to check it out.
They are on Nugs, and I'm probably going to have to pony up because they've got everything on there.
When they started with Nugs, they had $10 that would get you a year. And that's when I signed up because my old subscription died right at the beginning of the pandemic. And so I let it just go for a couple months. And I'm like, well, there are no live shows. Right. I have a big enough hard drive at home with all the other old ones on it. Yeah. And then Pearl Jam got added, and they had just a deal, like $10 and you get Nugs for the whole year. So I came in on the PJ code.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so funny you're talking about, like, you're the first person. I think we connected initially over like having, we didn't judge music by like how much like physical things you had. It was like how many terabytes you had.
Right. Exactly.
If there's anything better than 2 terabytes of live Grateful Dead music, it's 4 terabytes of live Grateful Dead music.
Exactly.
Why do you
have 7 copies of the same show? Well, because there's 7 different sources.
Right. Yeah. They all sound different.
Yeah. Steve, I still have, are those discs that I still have the books of? Are those ones that you and
me and Charlie made those? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's where those date back from.
Right now still.
That's awesome.
I got rid of all CDs last year except for like Grateful Dead and Fish, like the special ones like Dick's Picks and stuff like that, But all my binders, everything, they're gone.
They're gone.
It was time.
Well, you can have the whole thing
so
on
crazy,
your fucking phone, though.
Right. I've got an 11 terabyte Buffalo Terra station down here in my office that's got all the old concerts and stuff on it. Plus, I have a subscription to Nugs and this and that.
Right.
And so it's like, it's good.
I was chuckling to myself. I was actually yesterday, I think, because there was this is like 90, maybe 2000, but we had started doing CDs, and I had hundreds of cassettes. Hundreds of cassettes in these like carrying case deals.
Oh yeah.
And I was at a meeting with this guy who was telling me, "Oh, CDs don't sound as good as tapes. I don't even know why you'd bother to do that." And it got so ridiculous. I finally said, "Don't move." And I literally left the parking lot, left the meeting. I drove home. I grabbed all of my tapes, every carrying case that I had. It was over 300 tapes. And I put them on my shoulders and I threw them in my car and I drove back to the meeting. And I got out and I marched up to him and I sat him at his feet and said, "Here, have all the tapes."
Nice.
Just to prove a point.
Did he take them?
Oh yeah. He couldn't believe what was happening. He was like,
wow.
What is going on right now? I'm like, I'm proving a point. You're saying
awesome.
that I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. And here's my proof. There. This is like 15 years worth of collecting at your feet. Have a nice day.
All because you were convinced that CDs were better and it didn't matter.
Well, it was, I from my experience, it was better.
Right.
Like you're getting digital copies of master tapes, not this 4th generation dubbed on a boombox, Like,
but the hiss, I gotta have the hiss of that
tape. Like, this entire conversation is so ridiculous. He would not. I'm like, fine, here, have all of my tapes.
Have all my tapes, damn it. That's my chair. I'm not leaving my seat.
That's pretty much it was very similar dynamic to that, actually. Like that was me. Like I was obviously not super okay. Because what I would say today is, "Oh, okay, well, great, man."
Well, that's like your opinion, man.
Pretty much.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. But I was kind of bummed. I'm like, I kind of like to have those tapes now.
Yeah. Well, I've got a tape deck right behind me. I'm like, man, it'd be great to have a couple of Grateful Dead tapes just to listen to it on cassette, you know?
Right.
I've got a functional 8-track in the receiver that I'm currently using because I'm using my grandparents' receiver from like 1970 that is just phenomenal. It's an old
bet.
and it's a Magnavox, but it's awesome. I have my new turntable plugged into it and stuff, but that's my receiver, and it's got a fully functional 8-track in it. I don't have any tapes.
That's rare though, because usually they fucking shit out.
Yeah.
Well, they do, but I took the whole thing in and had them refurbish it. You know, I
nice.
said, hey, whatever's broken in here, fix it, you know, and they said,
Right.
okay, it'll be a couple $100, but we'll just take it apart and we will make sure it's like new again. And so they did.
That's great.
So it was awesome.
Next up, we get a reel to reel.
Yes.
Thank you so much for doing this, Charlie.
Oh, absolutely.
You're one of my favorite people, and I, you know,
Thanks,
the only reason you don't hang out is because you live in Denver and I live here. You know.
Yeah, but we'll be hanging out soon.
We'll get to see you this summer a little bit.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Do some music.
Hope I didn't talk your whole show away.
That's why you're here, dude. That's why you're here.
That's exactly why. This will be great, and it was great.
Steve and I will just circle back to the same complaints without, you know what I mean? So it's.
I hear you.
Thank you. Yeah,
I hear you. I know how it is talking to Steve for a long time.
Right.
It's really tedious. It wears on a person.
I mean, I know about the Dead show where your whole tie-dye melted all over your body because of the rain.
7/12/90.
The dye melted off the shirt, and you were all colored and.
Yeah, that I wasn't sure if that was actually happening or not.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just say it did.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, man. That's funny. I was just chuckling as we were sitting here talking. We're already in like, well, I was listening to 4/8/72, but I really prefer 5/11/72. There's like 5 people in the world I can have that conversation with.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so funny though, and I'll keep talking and you guys want to get off here, but I'll just be driving down the road or whatever, and I'll just hit Sirius Grateful Dead channel or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll see a song or a show they're playing, and I'm like, oh man, that's the one Steve told me about way back when or whatever, because I wasn't a fan of, like the 90s and some of the 80s,
right,
as much. But there's shows where I'm like, oh, that was Steve Erbauer's first show. I love that show now. That's 7/12, whatever, 90, I think it was.
That's funny you say that, because I recently ponied up for a subscription. Actually, I weaseled my way into a cheaper one for a year. And Kirsten and I were driving to Kearney to look at Sandio Cranes last weekend, and some show from the late 80s came on. And I was like, man, I need to start at like 1986 and go to like 91. Like, because that's a whole era that I sometimes skip. You know, I stick with my mid 70s stuff, but I was
summer of 89 through summer of 90 is for the most part pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, here we go.
What really surprised me most out of that 30 Trips Around the Sun box set the Grateful Dead released was how good the 93 show was.
Yeah.
It ranks up there high on my list of all 30 of those shows. That 93 would definitely make
That's actually I saw 91 and 93. I saw a bunch of shows both those years, and 93 was kind of spotty, but when they were on, forget about it. Like they was just the same as it ever was.
Dirks has a theory that the odd numbered years throughout the 80s and 90s until 95 are just way better than the even number years. And, I'm like, okay, 89, 91,
let's test it out.
87, 85, 83, 81. I'm like, okay, I can see this.
Yeah. But fall of 1980, man.
Was it?
Oh, God.
I got you. The whole
Florida shows in Atlanta. Anyway.
All right.
We've now lost half of our listening audience. Oh God, they're tired. It's like me in sports. We froze.
Hang on and get the gold.
Yeah. All right, Charlie. It's a delight to see. I love you, man.
I love you too, guys. This is awesome, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me on here for sure. And I'll talk to you more, Joel, one of these days.
Yes, please.
I'll
come out to more shows. When we have shows, we'll go to more shows.
Yeah, man. If you're ever heading out this way, let me know, and I'll let you know.
My sister lives out there, so I'll hit you up.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, guys.
All right, later.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.